The way that I created my capital for when I retired was from flipping cars while I was in the military. So I would buy wrecked cars and I would fix them up just good enough to get them back on the road, get them all paperwork straight, and then I'd sell them, make a small profit. I'd keep on doing that until it got bigger and bigger. And I saved up enough that when I retired from the military, I would have enough capital to build my facilities and start my business. Charisma can only take you so far. You have to be an expert. You have to be knowledgeable. You can't just, be the most fun guy to be around. Likability will get you somewhere, but if you're not an expert, if you're not the one that we're turning to when we need answers, then that likability kind of runs out.
This generation, Gen Z, is incredible.
It's surprising how much they're opening their eyes up to everything around them. So millennials were on the cutting edge of all this new tech coming out that really changed our entire world, and then Gen Z grew up with it.
Yeah.
So they were kind of normalized with it. They didn't have the oh wow factor that older generations did.
The first thing you have to do in order to be effective is you have to be an expert at what you do. How do you become an expert? Welcome to Take the Power Back. Patrick Laughlin is our guest today. Super excited to have Patrick here. Let him tell his story because I think it's probably pretty epic. But as you folks know, and I was just telling Patrick, the reason we do this is to give vision to Gen Z about starting your own business, follow your passions, and really try to, give all you've got, take a flyer on yourself in order to do things that are going to be the best for you.
It's hard. It's hard to do.
It's hard to do. And our mission, of course, is to propel Gen Z to the highest possible level in their career and life. So take the power back. And as you know, of course, I'm sure you are a similar generation to mine where Rage Against the Machine was. If you've ever heard the song, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I'm in that weird generation of the end of Generation X and beginning of the millennials.
Yeah.
I guess my year qualifier is right there in the middle, and they can't really decide. I kind of went with my own generation and Generation Y. So yeah. I questioned a lot of things throughout my whole life. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing it that way? So I don't know if I fall into one of those specific generational things.
How old are you? I forget.
I'm 46 years old.
You're 46. Okay. So you're you're my wife's age. So I think you're technically Gen Z. No. Gen X.
Gen X, yeah.
81
it's right there where some say it's Gen X, some say it's millennial. I don't know. I think millennials got a real bad rap in the whole, the textbook of what a generation is. So
yeah.
I usually say Gen X if it's one or the other.
Yeah, that's true. Millennials definitely got a bad rap.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's plenty of great millennials out there, but they went through some weird times, big changes in our country.
For sure. And interestingly enough, this generation, Gen Z, is incredible. They really are.
And it's surprising how much they're opening their eyes up to everything around them. So millennials were on the cutting edge of all this new tech coming out that really changed our entire world, and then Gen Z grew up with it.
Yeah.
So they were kind of normalized with it. They didn't have the oh wow factor that the older generations did, and it's kind of they're almost kind of weaning themselves off of it a little bit, which is very surprising to me.
Yeah, they're unplugging.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is cool, actually.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, people are starting micro farms and getting back to doing things in person, outdoor stuff. It's kind of like
it's back and cool.
Yeah, tech is kind of falling. I mean, tech is obviously it's a huge giant in the world as far as finance goes and advancing everything in our lives. But people are trying to pull back from it a little bit and kind of reconnect with life,
which is amazing.
It
really is. And we see that. I see that today with a generation that's hungry. Mm-hmm. They're talented.
Yeah.
They want to make it big. They want to carve their own path, sort of like the Gen X, mm-hmm. if you will. That's sort of that generation, and then millennials took over, which is a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's start off, Patrick. We've been working together, 3 years?
Three years now, I think, yeah.
4 years, yeah. So why don't you tell the world what you do?
Okay, I own Conquer Custom.
Yes.
Custom car shop specializing in pre-1970s resto mods. So for you, I have built the 1958 Corvette, which is a fun little go-kart that's badass. Gorgeous and just insane to drive because it weighs nothing and has a ton of horsepower, and it's just an absolute classic.
Yeah.
Then after that, we did the wine country truck for your wife.
Beautiful.
You know, that thing gets so much popularity online.
Yeah.
Everybody is a huge fan of that thing. All the little features, they never even see it. They just see like the overall
Just
picture.
see the coolness.
Yeah, it's a great truck. And then the Camaro, of course.
Camaro.
Now that
Beast.
one, that's an absolute classic.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have a muscle car and it not be a Camaro.
Yeah,
That's
you got to
the
have
one.
that, right? And now you're doing what? Which one are you building for me now?
The 1960 Porsche 356. Now this one's a big step away from what I normally do. Porsches, German cars aren't generally my bread and butter, but I mean, there's obviously a huge provenance to the Porsche brand. And that's a very popular car. However, they're like so tiny and you can't really stuff a big, powerful engine in it. So we reimagined the car and put it onto a brand new Porsche.
Yeah.
We chopped the thing up, widened it, brand new Porsche underneath. When it's done,
It's going to be something.
It's going to
It'll
be awesome.
something to see. Yeah,
It's going to be awesome.
And it's interesting. So when we bought the it's a 718, I believe, right?
Yeah, the new one is a 718.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we bought a brand new 718, salvage title. Basically, it had been hit.
Yeah.
But the motor had it has no miles.
It had like
on
7,000 miles on it. I mean, everything inside of the car was new.
It was basically brand new. Yeah. But it's twice the size of the 356.
It is considerably larger.
Which is awesome. So first of all, thank you. You've built some amazing machines for me. I think the one that gets right now the most looks is the vet, because it's something special.
Yeah.
And the wine truck, of course. They're great. So let's talk about, we're here to talk about, the decisions that you made to become an entrepreneur. So how long ago did you start Conquer Customs? How long you guys been in business?
Officially, LLC started in 2018. I've been building cars my entire life, but I was in the military, so I didn't have time to do a full-time shop. I did it on the side here and there. I'd play with other people's cars or work on my own stuff. And when it came time to retire in 2019, I prepared for my retirement ahead of time. So I started creating the business. I started getting things in place for when I was done with my military service. How am I going to run this business? Now, there aren't a lot of entrepreneurial paths supported coming out of the military. I mean, they are very much about helping people getting out of the military, starting careers or continuing education, things like that. But as far as starting your own business, it's kind of a difficult thing for a huge mechanism like the military to directly support individuals, because it's, what are you going to do? How are you going to get it done? If they are not familiar with what it is that you're doing, they don't know how to support you. So there are a few entrepreneurial paths coming out of the military, but generally it's more focused on like construction businesses or things that are a lot more common to start.
Hands-on type of
stuff. They're big into the tech world and all that kind of stuff. It kind of depends on what you did while you were in the military, obviously. If you had a background in drones and nuclear stuff or things like that, then you're probably going to have a leg up on a lot of people that were just a grunt doing, sweeping floors and shooting at people.
Right.
In which I was in a strange mix, because I was in special forces, so we had to sweep floors and shoot at people, but we also had to empower huge populations of people to overthrow their own governments and do kinds of weird, unconventional things all the time. That took a lot of critical thinking and a lot of just kind of non-conventional kind of thought process and actions. Which was fantastic for me wanting to start my own business afterwards, because what I do is pretty unconventional. You're not going to find a lot of shops that do what I do. So that background in special forces enabled me to kind of do what I wanted to do and have that willpower to kind of find my own way. There isn't always going to be a support structure there to put you right on the path where you need to be. You got to kind of figure stuff out for yourself. And that also involved, surrounding myself with people that are very useful and knowledgeable and helpful in everything I did. When I started the LLC, I reached out to a company that specializes in starting an LLC, because you can get on Google, of course, and how to start an LLC. You can spend all day long trying to figure that out. And it's a battle. There are obviously people that know how to do it very easily. You can reach out to them and help you start these things. trademark law, all that kind of stuff. Everything it's very, very difficult to do on your own. And I think that coming out of the military, if they had a few more programs and things like that that were specifically tailored to that individual entrepreneurial path, that would have been very helpful. But I mean, there's things out there that you can still pursue.
So first of all, thank you for your service, right? So if we don't mind backing up a little bit, where'd you grow up? And Special Forces, I believe you were a Green Beret. Is that correct?
Correct.
Which is the elite of military. Let's talk about where you grew up, what got you into the military, the choice and the decision to put a lifelong commitment to become a Green Beret, because it's not easy to become that.
It's not.
And what are some of the challenges that you faced trying to make that decision and committing to it?
So I grew up in Denver, Colorado. I wouldn't say that I was the worst kid, but I was definitely on a bad path, we'll say. And fortunately, I had a mom that was very concerned with that. So very against my will, of course, at the time, she sent me to military school. And that kind of instilled a lot of discipline in me, taught me the ropes of how the military life is. And coming to the end of my high school time in military school, I was considering, do I, just go out into the world and do whatever? Or, I mean, I've already been practically doing military stuff this whole time I've been in high school. I might as well join the military. And I was, of course, I won't say brainwashed, but when you're around that all the time, like it's glorified to you. You see all the war movies and everything, and you're like, oh, that's going to be great. It's awesome. You got that brotherhood. You got the young people's attraction to like violence and like crazy hard things. I was always kind of, I won't say an adrenaline junkie, but I was comfortable in
you liked it.
I liked
being
it.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, I liked being uncomfortable. I didn't mind being uncomfortable. So I joined the military. I went into the infantry. I spent 4 years doing the infantry, and that was in '99 that I joined. And so this was prior to 9/11.
Yeah.
Totally different military before 9/11. Everything was training focused, looking back towards the Cold War and Vietnam era training tactics and everything. And it was kind of ridiculous. Honestly, prior to 9/11, like, I was considering, or every day I was like, how am I going to keep doing this military business? I didn't like how things happened when there wasn't a war going on. And then 9/11 happened, obviously, terrible act that very much changed everything about our country, changed our military, changed the whole world.
How did you change the military? I'm curious. What changed in the military?
So we went from a complete force that was preparing for something. We had no idea what. And when you're preparing for something, you have no idea what it is, you're probably not going to prepare the right way.
Right.
Tons of hard training happened before 9/11, but it was not necessarily pointed at what it was we were going to be doing. Once 9/11 happened and special operations reacted to this, we went in, or not we, I was not in special operations yet, I was still in the regular infantry. Special operations went into Afghanistan, toppled the government, did everything we needed to do in like 6 months. Like, they had that thing
Boom.
wrapped up.
Yeah.
And then comes the real hard part, and this is where we've kind of fallen out on almost every conflict since World War II, is what do you do after you go in and you just dominate everything? Like,
Right.
It is not hard for an extremely dominant military like the U.S. military to run in, fuck everything up, and then
see what happens.
Now what do we do?
Now what, right? There's no who's in charge.
Yeah, exactly. That's such a hard thing to do. And, you pick what you think is the best path. We put Karzai in charge, or enabled him to be the leader of his country. But it doesn't work in Afghanistan, because Afghanistan is not, they don't have the same mentality as the U.S., where they're not united as a nation. They are whatever tribe they are first. And then, Afghanistan it's kind of a line that got drawn on a map by some other country, and they don't really necessarily abide by that.
Right.
So it's a very difficult thing to complete that military task where they've told you, go in, take care of these people, and, free the oppressed. That's the whole job of special forces. And then after that, it became a big conventional war. And then Iraq popped off after that. Like all kinds of things going on around the country or around the world. On top of that, years later, we have ISIS come into the picture, and we start going into Syria and all these other countries. So after my 4 years in the infantry, I did a very short stint as an air traffic controller, actually.
Really?
I was like, I should probably get something. My re-enlistment time was up, and I was like, I should probably change to something that I could use in the outside world, have a career that's good, because the infantry.
Great job.
I mean, it can be a very well-paying job.
Yeah.
People consider it very stressful. I don't know. I've never worked at like LaGuardia or something like that. A crazy place like that. Everything I ever did in the military was very small airfields, and I thought it was pretty chill. I didn't mind it at all.
Yeah.
It's just following procedures and dealing with things as they come along, which I never had any problem with. However, I'd say maybe just 6 months into my stint as an air traffic controller, I was like, this is not for me.
I can't do this.
I mean, it's nothing wrong with these people. I'm too much of a hard charger for this. Like, this is not. I won't be able to look back on this in the future and be like, yeah, I did that. So I went to Special Forces, and that was very much where I belonged. You sometimes operate in the gray a lot. Not everything is black and white, which is it's perfect for me. I'm not one to do things 100% one way or the other. I'm very good at finding my way through things that are needing a little bit of inventiveness.
So you have to create your own pathway, basically.
Yes,
it's critical thinking, right? I mean,
critical
that's basically
thinking,
what it is.
Absolutely. They have that's like one of the main core fundamentals of Special Forces is being a critical thinker. You have your left and your right limits. Like, you have what is right and wrong 100%.
Yep.
Anywhere in between there, make the mission happen.
Right. So talk about training. What's training look like in Special Forces? Try to forget all of that, right?
No, I don't actually. So it's a lot of people probably look back on all those hard times and see the hard times, but man, they're great. They're not something that can be replicated outside of that environment. I know that there's a lot of my friends started businesses after Special Forces to kind of give people a little taste of that. So they do like civilian training and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's a great experience, but it's nothing like the real thing.
Right.
Being a Green Beret is very much an earned thing. Like, nobody got that handed to them.
No.
Your first step is, one, you got to take the time. You're in the military, most people. There is a path from the street to become a Green Beret, but it's very difficult, and I'm actually not sure what the current process is for that. During the height of the war, they needed people in Special Forces, so the gates were quite a bit more open. Now I'd imagine it's probably trimmed down a little bit. But if you're in the military and you want to become Special Forces, you have to convince your command to kind of like, hey, I want to go do this. I need a little time to better myself and make sure I'm ready where I'm going to be competitive. I can actually make it. So right there off the bat, your free time, go bye-bye. None. You need to dedicate yourself to being able to survive that training, because it is not easy. It's very physically demanding. Your first
So it's
step,
fitness, right? I'm assuming.
Fitness and
mental.
Mental. That's the big one. There are, for every 100 people that show up to the selection process, 3 of them will end up being Green Berets.
Wow.
That's the statistic. And that's how the old Green Beret song from the 60s goes. It's 100 men and 3 end up with Green Berets and stuff like that.
Wow.
And it's not a joke. From the beginning of the pipeline to the end, that's the kind of numbers that you're talking.
So it's a top 3%.
Top 3% who are actually going to finish. And of those top 3%, there's other small percentages inside of there that are going to go to higher tiers or do specific things within Special Forces. So it's very, very elite within that.
What do you think of the attributes that make the 3% make it versus the 97% that don't? And how do those tie to business?
Easy to tie it to business, honestly. So the guy that shows up early for work every day, leaves late every day, dedicates his entire time to whatever in a business world, we'll say
Right.
whatever the business is, and special forces, it's the mission, right? Which in a business, it's the same thing. Like whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, whether that's becoming successful and making a ton of money, or overthrowing a government, if that's your target, you have to put in more than everybody else. So that 3%, they're willing to do whatever it takes, and that could be a physical standard that they set themselves to, or just that not quitting mentality. That's the biggest thing, actually. They tell everybody when you show up to selection, the first step is the 30-day selection process, where you go and do all these crazy, painful tasks and land navigation, where they throw you out in the woods for days and days, and you just walk and
Just
and hopefully
trying to figure it out.
hopefully find yourself in the right place or not, and not get eaten by a bear or something.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing they're going to tell everybody when you show up there day one is don't quit. Like there are tons of people that have like barely made those physical standards all the way to the end, and they still made it because they never quit.
They just never gave up.
Yeah, and you'll have complete studs that are like, they're ultra marathon runners, and they can carry 500 pounds on their back like it's nothing. But a couple of days into the suck, they just give up. They just quit. They don't have that willpower. So it's not, you can't look in a book and see exact criteria for who's going to make it. Like if there was, you can bet on everything nowadays, I guess. But
Right.
if you showed up to the day one of selection and you guys started like dishing out dollars on who's going to actually make it to the end, you'd probably be wrong. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting in Florida financial advisors. For years I used to say I'd hire somebody and be like, this person's a stud. They have all the pedigree, right? So they're well spoken. They're D1 athletes. They're top of their class, and they would suck. The will, the burning belly, and the desire to win just wasn't there. They just thought it should come easy to them, or they should be entitled to whatever it is they think they're entitled to. But then I would take somebody, I can remember this guy, his name was Turbo. He had a white shirt with a Ford emblem on it, right? And you could see the Ford emblem. He kind of didn't talk well. A little disheveled. I'm like, I don't think this guy's gonna make it. Guy was a rock star. Yeah, you could never tell, because first one in, last to leave, completely committed, would never give up. And I think that's a secret in life that Gen Z needs to hear.
Yeah.
That in the military, you obviously like, all right, I was successful in one of the top 3% of the people that enter into it, because there was no way you were going to give up. That was the secret to it.
That is 100% the secret to it. There were times where everything was terrible for me. There were moments where everything was going wrong, but you can't give up. You can't quit. And there are fortunately times in those situations where you can't quit, because
you'll die.
Because you will die. You will literally die. Right. You'll be in the middle of a firefight, and like, if you just curl up in a ball and quit, you're going to die.
Right.
So it's not hard to find the will to continue on when it's life or death. It's hard to find the will to continue on when it's something less than that. But that comes from within you. That can't be taught to you. That can be inspired to you. Like if you instill that in the people around you, eventually they grow to adopt that same feeling. But that is very much an internal thing, that will to just keep going.
So it must be different when you're in training, which is, I don't want to say controlled, but it's more controlled than a firefight, which is completely out of control.
Absolutely.
Right. So you have to learn it first in a controlled environment through training, right? Which I think is important in anybody's success. Success is trained.
Yes.
Right. It's not, you're not born into it, you're made into it. And the first person that dictates how successful you be is you, because you decide how and what those parameters are going to be.
Yeah.
And what you said, which I think is amazing, is that when you're dropped into a situation and you have to, the mission is to win. It's never to give up. It's never to crawl up in a ball. It's never to quit. It's either succeed or die.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just an amazing learnings that I think you can take as a human being. Obviously what we do in business is not life or death.
More often than not, no.
More often than not. But it is important, with that will to continue to go, that it will work out if, in fact, that you actually continue to persist after it.
Certainly.
Yeah. So talk about the leadership that you received that you liked in the military? Like what were some of the best qualities of the leaders that you followed and followed you?
In the military, you have very diverse leaders. There is a huge difference between every level, and there is a big difference between people that fulfill the same role. Because though the military is structured and they want people to be kind of uniform in some way, shape, or form, you can't take that many people and expect them all to be the same. So the leadership that I saw throughout the military varied with every position, every command, every deployment, everything. So I got exposed to so many different types of leadership. And the ones that I was always drawn to were the very charismatic leaders. And there are so many of them in the military. It's wild.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Hollywood does not portray military movies at all. They're terrible at it. There is this weird persona that leaders have or can have in the military that inspires people to follow them into gunfire. You can't just do that by being the one in charge. You have to instill something in your people to have them be willing to put their life on the line with you. And there were so many charismatic leaders. I remember one of my first company commanders when I was in the infantry I have no idea how old he was. I was 18 years old. So my world was completely different back then. And when you look at somebody that's in that kind of a leadership position as an 18-year-old, they're like a god to you. So you don't really know. I don't know, he was probably in his 30s, maybe.
He thought he was old.
Yeah, this guy's some far out old guy. Yeah. And he probably wasn't. He was probably very early 30s. And you learn this as you go through your military career, but when you're young, you don't have any idea what's going on. But he was funny, and he was very structured. Speaking is a huge thing that helps you become a good leader. If you're very concise in what you say, you flow well with it, and you make things kind of entertaining along the way, that makes all conversations a lot easier to handle. And when you're asking people to do things that are absolutely terrible, it's much easier to stomach that when it's coming from somebody that you like hearing from.
So likability is a key aspect of being a successful business owner. Successful military leader or any leader in any regards. And he does that by what? Is it just the charisma of the relationship that he's able to build? Does it lead from the front? Is it a little bit of both? Does it happen over time?
Charisma can only take you so far. You have to be an expert. You have to be knowledgeable. You can't just, be the most fun guy to be around. Likability will get you somewhere, but if you're not an expert, if you're not the one that we're turning to when we need answers, then that likability kind of runs out. So these leaders need to be likable and charismatic. They need to speak well. They need to be complete experts in whatever it is that they do, and they need to be able to figure out a way to get you to do whatever you need to do through those leadership skills.
So this is important, right? I think a lot of times when people start a business, they're like, I've got this idea or whatever it is, but they're really not an expert at what they do. So the first thing you have to do in order to be effective is you have to be an expert at what you do. How do you become an expert?
Training, practice, learning from other people, getting embedded with somebody that is an expert. In the business world, internships, things like that. That's basically what training is in the military, is your internships in the civilian world. You're not necessarily the highest paid or paid at all in some internship categories, but you're learning valuable skills that are going to be diamonds in the future.
Right. It's interesting. I've been interviewing entrepreneurs and saying, how did you get into the business? And what was most of the time entrepreneurs start with? I had a job doing something that I recognized, and I watched the owner of that business do, and I felt like I could do it better. Which is that first spark, right? And it does. Sometimes you don't even know what it's going to be. Yeah. So for you, it ended up becoming cars. Yeah. Right. So how did you go from Green Beret? A lot of times people get out of the military and you do contract work. Yeah. Right. That's usually where that path leads for a Green Beret? It was
a big decision for me, honestly. Yeah. And success isn't necessarily only measured in dollar signs. Success can be a lot of different things for a lot of different people. I grew up working on cars, and I always kept it as a pastime. I enjoyed it. It makes me happy. when I retired from the military, obviously there are a ton of jobs available to special forces that are not far off from what you were doing in the military.
What are they, defense contractor type?
Defense
people?
contracting, foreign government contracting, security contracting. I mean, you can keep doing exactly what you were doing in the military for the military in a GS position. There's a lot of opportunities out there, and there are some pretty high-paying ones. Obviously, the more dangerous whatever it is that you're doing, usually it pays better. But it wasn't ever a matter of passion for me, that it was something that I wanted to do after the military. And a lot of people, too, they don't have necessarily an interest or a skill that directly translates to something outside of the military. So once you finish your service, that's kind of a battle that everybody has to endure on their own, is what do I do with myself now? Like, my entire identity was this military thing for however long you did it, whether you only did it for 4 years or if you did it for 40 years. Like, that was your whole
It's your
life.
world. Yeah, that's
like,
your
you
world.
didn't, most people didn't completely disconnect from their military life on the weekend. Like, they got off on the weekend, had a great time or whatever, but on Monday morning they were right back to it. But you were still in the military the whole time you were off for the weekend. So it's a really hard adjustment for a lot of people to go from the military to civilian life and find what their calling is.
Right.
There are a lot of professions in the military that do directly translate into civilian life, medical, police, all that kind of stuff, where you've already been in that career field. Now you're just transitioning to a different environment to do it in. But there's not a lot of opportunity for entrepreneurship coming from those kind of specific technical fields. Trades are something that you can get out of the military and get right into, usually if you did some kind of specific trade within the military. But just flat out starting your own business, the leadership skills that you learn in the military and kind of that willpower to drive through everything, those are the best skills that you're going to take out. But as to a specific job, like, it's up to you. You got to find your own identity and figure out what it is to be successful outside of the military.
So how many years did you put in?
20 years.
So 20 years. It's 20 years. At what point did you start to think, all right, I'm 2 years away, I'm 1 year away, here I go, what am I going to do with my life? You obviously liked tinkering with cars. I think your dad was into cars as well.
Oh yeah, my dad owned a custom shop since the 50s.
Okay, so he started a custom shop, and you worked in the shop.
Oh yeah, since I was probably 8 years old, I was tooling around the shop breaking stuff. So,
so did that naturally say, I'm going to go build cars?
Yes and no. I have done a few small ventures throughout my military career. I started a motorcycle shop for a little while when bikes were real hot and the market was big on that.
Orange County Chopper.
Orange County Choppers was popular, and Jesse James and all that.
Jesse James.
And when that market fell off, I mean, there was nothing left to do in the motorcycle world, and I kind of outgrew that phase of my life anyways. But the cars, I always just kind of kept doing that a little bit on the side here. I was actually... The way that I created my capital for when I retired was from flipping cars while I was in the military. So I would buy wrecked cars. And always hustling. Always hustling. I would buy wrecked cars and I would fix them up just good enough to get them back on the road, get them all paperwork straight, and then I'd sell them, make a small profit off of one and move to the next, and keep on doing that until it got bigger and bigger. And I saved up enough that when I retired from the military, I would have enough capital to build my facilities and start my business in whatever format that was that I wanted to do. When it first started off, it was just be by myself, slowly doing little things here and there, and then it kind of evolved into something a little bit bigger.
So it really, even though you had a military career, there was this entrepreneurial itch that you were scratching with the skills that you had built up as a kid, and as you were doing that, you're still refining your skills to actually apply that to what is today Concord Custom.
Definitely. And also, I had a good group of leaders around me that kind of informed me of, hey, this is what this process is like of getting out of the military. And they were very supportive in helping me prepare myself for retirement. And that's one of those major benefits of being in Special Forces, is the leadership is very focused on the individuals, because they invest a ton of time and money into Green Berets. So making sure that they are going to be well-rounded people in their entire lives it's kind of one of the cornerstones of the training process. When you're just a cog in the wheel of a infantry battalion, you're not going to get that one-on-one leadership from the higher levels. You're going to get your immediate area of leadership affecting you, but they're also very young and inexperienced, and it's hard for them to direct you on later career path stuff when you're at the bottom of the chain.
I believe the best opportunities for career in life don't come through career services. The best way for you to become the best possible version of yourself and to achieve massive levels of success is for you to be hungry, coachable, and try to find those opportunities directly. Take the Power Back was created to flip that switch, to not have any limitations in terms of the opportunities that are out there in front of you. That's what this platform is really all about. Real jobs, real access, real opportunities, and most importantly, no gatekeepers. Are you serious about success? Then let's take the power back. Join the movement. This is interesting, right? So this goes back to the Gen Z and the problem that I see in the world today at the university level, because you are just really a cog in the machine. Mm-hmm. You're surrounded in an environment in some universities that's not really healthy towards a vision of success. There is no individual coaching or leadership in those positions, and it leads to some individuals going astray or not really pursuing what they're capable of doing because they have the internal mechanisms associated with it, which is pulled out of them from university leadership. Mm-hmm. For people that don't have the opportunity to become elite first, because what happens is you got attention from the best leaders in the military, because you demonstrated something with that will and desire, and were able to get great coaching, so that when you transition from the military life into the civilian life, you were already equipped with what expectations were coming. Mm-hmm. If you were not in the military and you weren't the top 3%, what would you tell a young student that doesn't even know they're surrounded by a bunch of people that aren't really capable of helping them make good decisions around what they should be doing with their lives?
I mean, that's a hard place to be in, is if you're not in an environment where you are able to stand apart from everybody else and be targeted with that extra special attention. I mean, how do you pick out people? How do you get that information to them? How do you support them and coach them and grow them?
Yeah.
I think that university systems are probably not well equipped for those individuals that want to do that breakout on their own entrepreneurship type stuff, because they're focused on a generic kind of cookie cutter design that they're making. And I mean, I went to college. I was in the Army, so we had free college, so I did it. But it didn't benefit me in any way whatsoever for my personal business.
You were learning stuff that, because it was a part of a curriculum that somebody made up themselves, that is not an entrepreneur and doesn't make millions of dollars a year. It doesn't have all that success, whatever that success would be. So now all of a sudden it's sort of this passing down of mediocrity that seeps into the university system that really could, if we think about what would be the best way to do it, is to promote entrepreneurship in the university level, to bring in really wildly successful people to coach and mentor, trying to find other avenues where people can seek out groups, clubs, and organizations where people have like-minded individuals to win. I mean, that's really what special forces do. They take the top elite people, they put them in a room together and say, now we want you guys to go conquer. Mission first, right? And then change whatever it is that they want you to change. And therefore, you guys already have that mindset. And then they coach you in order to be able to make that transition, which I think is incredible.
They keep the competition alive even harder inside of that 3%, because not every mission is just handed out like in unison. Like, these teams get in there and compete against each other to chase down the missions they want, or the specific taskings and things like that. So you have the 3% battling to be the 1% within the whole thing. Like, there's always a constant
competition,
always a constant attempt to try and move even further up the line. So, and you do that through coaching each other and working with good leadership that kind of tells you how they want to see things done or how they want the outcomes to look like. That's actually a way more important thing, is to tell somebody how you want something to be in the end.
Hold on 1 second. Diego? I'm sorry. That's all right. Yes, sir. You need upstairs? He can go upstairs. Yeah. Diego's
always busy around here.
It's always busy. It's always busy. It's been that way for years. So talk about, so you're in a group, you're in infantry, right? You're with a bunch of young kids, not all of them go on to be the top 3%. You're in a culture of most of those people who quit, right? What sets you apart? What makes you go seek to try to go get to be that 3%? So what is that transition? Is it a person? Is it a burning desire? How do you ignite it?
Specifically to become a Green Beret, I had probably that desire burned in from, I mean, maybe pop culture or something in that sense, to be specific to that thing, to be a Green Beret. But that drive to achieve and maybe find my own pathway to something a little bit higher than what I was doing, that's completely an internal push. It could have been something else. If I hadn't been in the military, I probably would have done the same kind of thing in a different environment. Like, I wouldn't have been happy showing up just being a plebe at the bottom, hanging out every day, 9 to 5. Or like I always would have wanted to achieve in whatever it was I did, but not necessarily in the conventional sense. So this is why Special Forces was very attractive to me, because they didn't do things in a conventional manner. There were, of course, milestones and things that are very specific that you have to hit, but it wasn't necessarily a path that was only this, and this. You kind of had the
freedom
ability
of choice. But
yes.
But the common denominator is never give up, never quit, continue to get better and better and better every single day.
100%. 100%.
So talk about, you fly into a foreign land, you topple the government, and I think you said you're there to change their minds. So what's the culture shock like? And I think in business, right? I've done takeovers. I've started scratch operations, done a lot of different business things. And, a lot of times it's that cultural fit is tough.
Yeah.
Right. So what are some of the biggest learnings you've had, and how do you embrace or get people that are, you're not in a culture of winning and or a culture of an open mindset to be able to do better? How do you change that?
I mean, the easiest way to change that is to give people something they want.
Yeah.
So for the example of going into a country that maybe we need to create a partner force to go fight a battle, right? We need to empower those people to do whatever it is that we want them to do. So if you go into a country and tell them, hey, go topple the government, go fight those guys, and then you just leave, one, they're not going to do it because they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And they're not going to be capable of doing it because they don't have the equipment, training, or money to do it. So we enable whoever it is we're trying to get to do something by telling them what it is they need to do, how they need to do it, giving them the right tools to accomplish this mission, and then doing it with them. That was the other big aspect in Special Forces, is that we would go in very small teams. So 12-man teams on our best day. More often than not, we were usually short, so we'd go in with like 8 guys, or we might pick and pull some random people to take on the teams with us. But we'd go into a country or go into an environment all by ourselves. We had radios, so obviously we could talk to our higher and everything. We had support, air support, things like that. But really, there on the ground, you're by yourself. So you go in with these people and tell them, hey, we're going to go fight these bad guys for whatever reason it is, or we're going to go, change the way that things are done in this area. And you can't show up empty-handed for this kind of thing. You can't just expect them to be super excited about you showing up. Most of them are, because they know who you are at this point. When Green Berets first started off, they were very much in the shadows, so not everybody knew what was going on with them. But now everybody knows what Green Berets do.
They're not there to. You're not there to kill them.
No, exactly.
No. Right, you're not there.
And I don't like to say that we're there to use them either, because at my level of special forces, the operator, the guy on the ground, we don't look at it like that at all, because we're trying to build a relationship with these guys that could be a lasting one. We have no idea how long this is going to be. And at the end of the day, like, we want to be a true partner with whoever this is that we're working with. We don't want any kind of, funny business going on where they feel betrayed or we feel betrayed, and then the waters really get muddied in those kind of situations. So you have to go in, you have to instill the trust, you have to build them up and show them that they can do whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish, and you have to give them those tools.
So it's clear expectations, which is same thing in business. You set crystal clear expectations of what you're doing and why, what the process is going to look like, what the tools that you're going to provide them to. And the most important thing that I heard you say, particularly in business, is you're going to do it with them. And I think a lot of times leaders don't fundamentally do that last piece. They say, go do this, and then wonder, why didn't it get done? I told you to do it, because you never actually showed them how to do it. It's that show, tell, do mentality of how to apply that and then bring it to business, I think, is a critical component of implementation.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's also interesting sometimes to see what kind of things people can accomplish when you give them a task and maybe some parameters within it of how they're going to get to that end goal if you're not there, hold their hand through everything. But that's not something you can do right out of the gate for sure. That's something that comes a little later once you've kind of established a baseline.
Right. You build trust first. You know what the parameters are. They know how to operate within those parameters, and then they can execute upon it, which is the same thing in business, I would think.
I use it in my business. So I had a young guy came to work for me. He started off as an intern. He was hungry. He wanted to learn all this stuff. He was very into cars, learned how to weld, he learned how to fabricate, and now he's doing everything in the shop with minimal guidance. Like, I'll tell him, hey, we need to do this, and now he can 99% of the time accomplish whatever task it was with very minimal input from me, which is a fantastic result to see that growth from somebody that knew nothing about cars other than liked the look of them.
That they were cool.
That they're cool. Cars are rad. Yeah. And now he's building cars from scratch.
That's really cool. So now let's talk about it. You get out of the military. You've got good coaching, good leaders. They're saying, here are the things that you can do. At that point, you've got a lot of choices. You decide, what I'm going to do is when I get out, I'm going to start a custom car business. Right. And that was a decision. You never thought to yourself, I need to go get a W-2 paycheck. I'm going to go work for corporate America. None of that.
No, it never was. I entertained those thoughts, of course. There's tons of opportunities coming out of the military for Green Beret that are high paying and structured and steady and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't want that path. I chose what looked like what was going to be success to me was finding something that I was very interested in and I was going to be happy with. A big fat paycheck every month it'll keep you happy for a little while, but if you're absolutely miserable in whatever it is that you're doing, that's not sustainable.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's really not. And more than likely, that's just going to give you the money to enable you to try and find whatever it is that you want to do.
That's a really good point, and I think we want to make sure you capture that. Basically, most people that enter into a corporate job end up becoming unhappy doing it, because really what they're missing is the opportunity for their own freedom to make their own decisions, to chart their own path.
Yeah,
and it comes in terms of whether that's depression or unhappiness, or sometimes it manifests itself in bad relationships. But really, it's because you are not scratching that itch, which everybody wants to do, which is forge their own path.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it doesn't work, it's still your own path.
Yeah.
So you might as well choose it.
Humans have free will, and they want to exercise that. It's very difficult to be, like a robotic person your entire life and just kind of fit into the molds of everything. That's not human nature. Like, we're individuals 100%.
Yeah.
And so if you pursue that in your career field, like, you're going to be happier.
Right.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's tons of times where owning your own business is terrible and hard and it's miserable. But at the end of the day, like, if you like what you do, it's not going to be that bad.
Right. And you know what the most important thing is, you typically will like what you do if it's free will. because it's your choice. You are the problem. You are the solution, right? So there are times, there's things in our business. I'm curious of what yours is. That there's things that I don't like to do. I hate dealing with lawyers, right? I don't love the rules, the regulation, the regulatory environment is very, very strict in our business, but it's a necessary thing. So I spend a lot of time dealing with regulation, right? Because I have to do that because that's part of the business. It's not the stuff that's not that I like every day, but what I really like is the free will to be able to choose and create my own future. I love being a self-determining corporation. What are the challenges that you see in your business in terms of things that you don't like to do that you still have to do?
So we have...
1 second. Sorry.
We have regulation and stuff like that, obviously, that we got to adhere by EPA and things like that, where we got to be careful not to break those laws, and then we find ourselves in legal battles and all that kind of good stuff. So we try to, keep everything on the up and up when it comes to whatever laws and regulations are required from an automotive business. But being such a small automotive business, so niche and limited in how much product we actually put out, we don't have a lot of challenges with those kind of things.
Yeah.
One of the biggest, I won't say like pet peeves, or one of the biggest issues that I don't like dealing with is the constant pursuit to do more, which is kind of counterintuitive to owning a business and the idea of success. I get calls all day, every day, of people want me to work on their car.
Yeah.
Fix this, fix that, or whatever. I'm very specific in what I will take in and what I will do. And actually, if you recall, the first time that you called me,
you said no.
I said no.
Right? You're like, no, I'm not going to do it. I was like, I love your car, dude. And you're like, yeah, I build a couple cars a year, and I'm just not really interested at this point.
Yeah. And I don't remember what the car was, but a build that I had in the line fell through, and I called you back, and I was like, hey, you know what? Let's give it a shot. And I like working with you, so we've continued that relationship since then.
Yeah, that's great.
But it's the hard. I won't say that it's a bad thing. It's just it's hard for me to deal with because I got to tell people that bad news every time when they call, and I love hearing people's stories, because being in the car world, every car has a story behind it. There's very few cars that you're calling me about are just something you happen to have.
Right.
So
and you usually have had problems, right? I mean, they want something, a vision. Like in my case, the guy was trying to steal the car from me.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I do. I remember.
He buried a Z06. Put a cover on it like I wouldn't know it was my car, basically did nothing for 2 years.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, that's a big problem in the car industry, is the lack of progress on builds, because most shops, this exact thing that I'm talking about, they'll take on more than they can handle. Yep. So they'll take in a little money from somebody to keep feeding another project, and then things just kind of collect dust off to the side while nothing gets accomplished on whatever it is they started with. And that's, I'd say, probably the hardest thing for a business owner in my specific field to do, is to be able to tell people no. Like, I can't work on your stuff. I'm not gonna take on more than I can handle, because I know better than that. I know where it leads.
Right.
My father owned this car business his whole life, and I saw that in plenty of his years, where he would find himself buried into the business, and he was an excellent builder. Like, he won national championships in the car show circuit. He was very, very popular in the building world. But on the business side, he was not so great at keeping the business flowing along and not overwhelming himself with stuff, because you can't, if you're working with other people, you have to pay those people. So in order to pay those people, you got to bring in more work, and then it's that vicious cycle of finding the balance of how much can you actually accomplish and still pay all your bills and make a profit and all those kind of things. With, are you still going to be sane at the end of the day?
Right. Now you're working 1,000 hours a week.
Exactly. And that can be a great thing for a little while, and especially if that's helping you achieve a goal down the line. It's not a bad thing to put in crazy, crazy hours and work yourself to the bone, but that can't be your model for life. You got to find your level of success that you want to be at, and manage your own personal happiness. And if you're starting your own business, it's so much easier to do because you're doing it for yourself.
Right.
But yeah, I think the hardest thing, or the thing I like doing least, is telling people no, and I have to do it a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you have to specialize and focus in terms of where your skill set is. So therefore, you can maximize the profit per the hour that you spend associated with it. Otherwise, you'll be doing brake jobs and muffler jobs. I mean, I've asked you a couple times, could you fix this or that? And you're like, that's not my thing. Go to this person.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's not a moneymaker for you.
Yeah. I mean, they can be. Like, obviously, there's the most successful shops on the planet in the car industry are high volume. So they're cranking stuff out. But there's no individual, no individuality, no art to what they're doing. It's just a process.
Right. So what are the things? So as you start this garage, Conquer Custom, right? You work on a couple of cars, then you start hiring some people, then you've got books and you've got records, you've got all this other type of stuff. What are the challenges that would give a young entrepreneur that's starting out? What advice would you give to them if they're like, okay, I was talking to the owner of Evie Media, right? And he's like, I was a film editor for $15 an hour, so I decided I was going to start a media company doing film editing in order to be able to then do social media, and now it's a really good sized business. What advice would you give to somebody who's starting out?
If you're starting a business and you want to find people to be in that business with you, find like-minded individuals that share that interest, that desire, that helps right off the bat. If you find somebody that's in your language of whatever it is you're doing, that's going to help you kind of traverse whatever these situations are so much easier. If you try to bring in a completely outside entity that's never touched whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to have your hands full teaching them whatever environment this is on top of how you want that environment to be managed. So like-minded people is very helpful in starting a business. But I mean, really that thing we were talking about earlier, that burning desire to never quit and keep going, that's the best advice that I can give anybody. And I mean, it seems like such a generic thing to say, or such a basic thing to say. It's just don't ever quit and don't give up. But people have a real hard time doing it.
They do. The other thing I think they do is their competing interests get in their way of executing on one thing really good, right? So like you said, you specialize in building sick cars, right? I've experienced this. But you don't specialize in fixing every single car every single day.
Yeah.
And when you chase the next shiny object, and my wife taught me this a long time ago, she said, Jason, and we were trying to start other businesses, and she says, stay in your lane. Do the thing that you're good at. You're really good at it. You're an expert at it. If you just do that more and more and more and more and more and more and more, you'll have more success and more fun. She was right. I had started other businesses that failed because they weren't what I was really, 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 really good at.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing, is to stay in your lane and never give up on that lane. It'll work out for you no matter what. How long did it take you before you felt like, okay, I have a sustainable business?
So, I mean, I had been doing the car business my whole military career, and it was completely unsustainable without the military financial backing.
Yeah.
If I didn't have my, military paycheck come in every day, I never would have been able to do what I was doing with cars while I was in the military, because I didn't have, enough spare time to make that a viable option. Post-military, I've had my retirement backing me, so that's, another financial help that made sure that, the bills were always going to be paid no matter what. Anything I do on top of that it's on me to sustain it, or to find the pace in which I can accomplish it.
Yep.
But it's been a challenge, of course, and I would say that it probably it took me 3 or 4 years to get it to where the finances kind of matched the level of work that I wanted to do.
Right. Yeah, so at a certain point, you're out of balance, meaning you're working hard for not a lot of money. And then there's that level where it gets to the place where, okay, I always say you're either overpaid or underpaid for the work that you do. You're never paid exactly right until you've matured your business. So what's next for Conquer Customs? I know you've done podcasts, you're on TV, you had a car show, you've done a lot of cool shit. What are some of the cool shit you've done?
So I've done 3 TV shows in which I'm a huge fan of doing TV and movies and all that kind of stuff. That was actually my dream gig, if I hadn't probably stayed in the military, I probably would have moved to Hollywood and tried to like start a life out there.
Be an actor.
Be an actor. Yeah. Who knows? Something in that world. I love script writing and all that kind of stuff. So that Hollywood environment is very enticing to me. But I have a small aspect of realism that I know that the percentages are probably less of who goes to special forces, who succeeds in that business. So
that's right.
It's
luck.
I never really pursued it, but I have enjoyed a little bit of fun with some TV shows, done lots of podcasts and things like that. I love being in these kind of environments. It's fun. I love the showmanship kind of thing. I think I'd have done great in a band, but it turns out I can't sing very well.
Don't know how to play an instrument.
No, like I mean, I'll karaoke with the best of them,
there
but
you go.
You need a few drinks to listen to that. So
that's pretty awesome. So what's next for Conquer Custom? What do you envision 5 years from today?
So the goal for Conquer Custom is to kind of maintain that idea of being very niche. So I want to stay true to that and not expand into doing tons of work where I'm constantly having to bring in more and more people to just satisfy the needs of others. It's very much about achieving higher level builds. So for your cars, for example, each one of them we've kind of stepped it up a little bit at a time, and that kind of obviously it requires a little bit more time, but the end product of what we're building is so much better.
Right.
And that's kind of where I want to keep going with it. It's just continue to not make a pyramid out of it, because I don't want to just be building one single little thing. I like a little bit of variety up there, but the goal is to just continue to grow it in quality, not in quantity, if that makes sense.
It does. Do you ever thought about, Singer, Porsche? I'm sure you're familiar with them. So, they just build Outlaws, they call them, which I think is a cool name. You ever thought about just trying to narrow that down to, I know you Restomod is your thing, right? Because I appreciate that. But is there any desire to say, okay, I'm going to do these cars, maybe just Vets, or maybe just Chevelles, or whatever it may be?
I like the idea of that, and I appreciate those businesses that do that, but I don't think that would suit me very well, because I'm not good at sticking with just one specific thing forever. I like the idea of a little bit of variety. Like, I'm a huge Aston Martin fan. Love Aston Martins, but I don't want to work on only Aston Martins.
Right.
I think it limits you. You can't just pick one specific thing and only focus on that. I mean, you can, and obviously like Singer and some of those other companies are very successful at just building that one thing with a little bit of a twist here and there within it. But I like a little more freedom to kind of play around with different things.
I'd like I think they're DB12s. Maybe that's on the list. One of the older, they're big money though. They're like $800,000.
Oh, you might be talking about the DB5, the James Bond car?
James Bond car.
So
that thing is spectacular.
I'm building one right now.
Are you really?
But it's not a real one.
Oh, you're building
so a very different thing. I'm building one for myself. It'll be a James Bond replica with all the guns and all the goodies. But I obviously can't run out and go buy $1 million car and then hack it up.
You can, but well, listen, dude. I've appreciated our relationship. I love the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to build these cars.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for your service. And really excited about what you've been able to do, and to hear your lessons and life lessons about how you applied your military career, the leadership skills, the dog with the bone, 3%, absolute 100% commitment into business. I hope anybody that watches this that's a young entrepreneur or is thinking, geez, I want to do something, just to follow your passion and just go make things happen. If you were to give any last advice for Gen Z, what would it be?
Be yourself and don't give up.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, is find out who you are along this path in life, and stick to that. Don't compromise yourself just to make a buck. Just find that passion and keep at it, keep burning.
How much do you think that, just as you said, that has to do with your environment? You were around a bunch of people, I always just worry that the Gen Z, unless you choose your own environment, ends up not getting the best opportunities that are out there that are for them, because they haven't defined the people that are necessary for them to get it.
So putting yourself in the right environment isn't necessarily a choice that you're going to get to make in life.
Right.
but making the most of the environment that you're in is certainly something you can affect. But environments play a huge role in who you're going to be and how you're going to act. If you're in one specific type of environment, you're going to kind of tend to emulate that a little bit.
Right.
And if you're in an unsuccessful environment, it's going to be
same thing.
It's going to be hard to go against the grain, which you have to be able to do.
Right.
It's going to be hard. Whatever it is whatever environment you're in, whatever career field it's in, whatever school or whatever it is you want to do in life, it's probably going to be hard at some point in time.
It has to be.
Has
part
to
of
be.
life.
Has to.
That's important. So there's a key to that, right? Number one, choose your environment. Number two, choose your relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And number three, what I always say is choose who you take advice from. You only take advice from the person that you think that you want to be, not from the person that is not what you want to be. Right.
That's
a really big, important factor. Because you get to choose your relationships. You get to choose the opportunities that are in front of you. You get to choose the environments. Yeah. Sometimes your environments are not helpful, not intentionally. I always say don't take advice from people that love you the most. When you're in pain, they're going to give you bad advice. And that pain sometimes that you feel is growth.
Yeah.
Right. So in the military, I'm assuming when you're in pain, the person to your right and the person to your left is picking you up.
Yeah.
Is not telling you, you should do is just go crawl up in a corner.
No, they're either picking you up or kicking your ass and making you do it anyways.
That's exactly right. And you want that. You want people that are going to kick your ass when you're feeling down. They're going to pick you up when you're down, and you're going to do the same for them.
Absolutely.
I think that's key. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you doing this.
Anytime.
I'm looking forward to the 356.
Oh, it's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one.